I just know that for me personally, it helps me be a better human, and it helps lift me up for the day and gives me a clearer head, and I just am more successful and happier as a result of it.
Welcome along to episode number 10 of Execs Who Run, where we explore life, leadership, and the miles in between. I am your host, Jason Hunt. Before we dive in, a quick thank you. Whether you've been with us from episode 1 or you're just joining us now, thank you so much for listening. The show really has been an experiment, a passion project, and a series of conversations that have far exceeded any expectations that I had. And the best part is that we're just getting started. If you've got guest ideas, topics you'd love us to explore, or even reflections from the past, please do reach out. This podcast is as much yours as it is mine, and I would genuinely love to hear from you. Today's guest is really the perfect way to mark this milestone, Clive Ormerod. He is currently a t-shirt salesman. He's a global brand leader whose story is powered by clarity, curiosity, and movement. From the retail floor in New Zealand to executive leadership at Nike and Les Mills International, and now, yes, selling t-shirts, Clive's path has been anything but linear. But one thing that has remained constant, his commitment to running. Not just as exercise, but as a mindset, a leadership tool, and a source of daily clarity. So, let's dive in. Welcome along to the show, Clive. How are you doing this morning?
Very well, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me along.
No, not a problem at all. You're joining us from hopefully sunny New Zealand today?
No, it's definitely not sunny out there. Joining you from New Zealand, but it is far from sunny.
Yeah, having lived in Auckland for about 4 years, quite happy I'm in Sydney. Beautiful blue skies today, so it's nice. Well, I want to dive in with the little warm-up that we do in this podcast, and that's just to hear about the last run you've been on. This morning, yesterday, whatever, what was the last little activity?
Yesterday morning.
Okay.
Yesterday morning, I had today off, Wednesday off as standard. I've got some kids stuff. I have to get the kids to school on a Wednesday, so I didn't run this morning, but my last run was yesterday morning. It's about 5.5 Ks. I've got a circuit down in the park. I do a bit of body weight stuff as well and amongst it, so it's a bit of a circuit run, and it takes me maybe 25 minutes.
Nice. Is that your go-to running destination?
It's easy, it's sharp, it's just down the road. I'm also a creature of habit.
Yeah.
So what I love about running is being able to go out and run and clear the head, which means if I've got to think hard about where I'm running and the route that I'm on or the track that I'm running on, then I don't really get that mindset or that opportunity to clear my mind. So I quite like running a route that I know during the week, and I can just go out and go through the motions.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the same boat. Centennial Park in Sydney is my my spiritual home, and people are like, don't you get bored of it? I'm like, to be honest, I don't care. Like, the monotony of running is not something that's a problem for the same reason, right? You don't have to think about it. You just go and do it.
Yeah, you go. It is a beautiful spot there. Mine is Cox's Bay, which is just down the road, and I would run during the week. Maybe if I run 6 times a week, I probably run down there 4.
Yeah. It makes sense. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of Auckland and beautiful part of the world as well. Well, I kind of want to get into your running story first. We're going to dive into your career as well, because it's A, really interesting, and B, quite related to what we're going to be talking about today anyway. But running and movement in general, I think you talk about movement as being something super important to you. And the thing that I'm always fascinated with is understanding people's movement, sporting, athletic kind of journeys and careers from, were they sporting children and whatnot. And then when running became something that was really important, it was more than just something you did as an activity, but it actually became part of your life. So can you take me through your sporting growth?
When I was growing up as a kid, I always played sport. I wasn't necessarily great at sport, but I enjoyed it and always had an element of competition to what fueled me. Running became a thing probably mid-20s. I worked in retail at the time, worked for a retail chain called Platinum, which was a Nike authorized partner, and just fell in love with running through that. I didn't run at school, I hated cross country, never really enjoyed it. I don't think I ever got fit enough, was probably one of the challenges. And I found like with fitness, you can enjoy it definitely more. But yeah, from mid-20s, running's been a big part of my life. And when I moved to the UK and lived in Europe and worked for Nike, running was huge. It was in a big part of what we did. And what the company did, what the company encouraged, and I just loved the impact it had on me as a human. So yeah, movement, like you said, is, I believe, something we should all do and invest and prioritize our time for. I just know that for me personally, it helps me be a better human, and it helps lift me up for the day and gives me a clearer head, and I just am more successful and happier as a result of it. So yeah, running now plays a big part of my life, and movement continues to play a big part, but running is something I would do 5 to 6 times a week.
Yeah. Was it something that was kind of almost peer pressured upon you given the environment that you're working in?
No,
or?
not really. No, not at all. It was more, it just was what people did and it's how the company operated. You know, like most companies have a rhythm of some sort, and they have a cultural element that is anchored in something. Well, running an activity at Nike was a massive part, as you can imagine, especially when you're working with athletes of all sports and all codes. So running was just something that we did. What I love about it too is if you're traveling with work, it's so easy and so accessible. It's probably the thing that has helped keep me sane, is if you're running, even when you're tired, you're better for it. So when I'm traveling, even if I've got a couple hours sleep, I will prioritize getting out for a run in the morning.
Yeah.
As I know I'm just a better human, like I said earlier, for it. It's something I'll prioritize over and above most stuff.
And you've done a bit of triathlon and obviously other sports as well.
Yeah.
Was running the one that you went to because of that ease?
No, I'd say I'm a stronger swimmer.
Okay.
Out of all 3 disciplines in a triathlon. Like I sort of swam at school, and in South Africa, a little bit like New Zealand, there's a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're along the coast, you're always in and around water. So I would say swimming was definitely my easier go-to. But I love triathlon. I love the mix-up of 3 disciplines, and I do enjoy the running element of it at the end. Obviously, for those that don't know, go swim, bike, run. So you're running at the end. And I've quite enjoyed longer distance triathlons over a sprint or an Olympic distance. So I've done a couple Ironman as a result. And like you said, I've also done a longer running event, an ultra marathon, and I just enjoy the mental challenge that endurance element brings.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to touch on those a little bit later as well, because I think that's a cool part of your story, and really keen on the tie-in between leadership. But I want to go all the way back to the start of your career, or probably even before your career, because what you ended up doing is not what you had planned on doing. You were going to be a pilot.
Yeah, I had this dream to be a pilot. I don't know, I just love flying. Flew a lot when I was younger. My dad had a plane and we flew a lot, and I just thought it was something that I wanted to do. But when we moved to New Zealand, just the industry over here is very different to South Africa. It's very relationship focused, and I think our network in New Zealand was a lot smaller, and it just looked like quite a different path. So I ended up going back to university and studying business, and loved and fell in love with that side of it, commerce and running businesses and being a part of something that can commercially make money and help a lot of people along the way. So yeah, I didn't end up flying, but I did do my pilot's license, and I in New Zealand I did my commercial license, my instrument flying, part of it as well. And one day maybe I go back to flying, but definitely not for a career.
Yeah, I was going to say, you went quite a long way down that path.
I did, yeah.
Given that you didn't end up doing it, but similar story. Yeah, I actually wanted to be a pilot for a very long period of time as well, and changed my mind in a similar kind of way.
Did you do any?
So I did a very small amount of flying. I had joined cadets when I was at high school, and so through that did a little bit of flying. Yeah. But changed kind of plans. But having worked at New Zealand, it's an interesting environment, because there's a lot of people there that similar journeys, right? They wanted to be a pilot, ended up in a more corporate career, but still fly. In fact, Richard Thompson, the CFO at Air New Zealand, does a lot of flying still, and loves getting out there. Do you still do some flying, or is
I haven't been in a plane that I've flown for, I don't know, 20 years.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even be current, and I'd love to fly again at some point, but I would have to invest in it, and that's time and money, and right now it's just not a priority.
No, it does make it slightly more challenging when
it does.
It's not the most accessible activity to do, is it? No,
not at all.
No, but I can see the appeal.
It's very rewarding. It's a little bit like running, in that when you're flying, you're really only focused on flying, and everything else isn't a distraction. So you get real good clarity of mind. I guess for me, for running, when I'm running, I can bring clarity to my thoughts as a result of whether it's the activity or the repetitiveness of what you're doing. But I know when I used to fly, I used to come back and sort of feel like I had awesome clarity of thought. And the same when I'm running, I come back from a run and I feel like I've got awesome clarity of thought.
Yeah, it's an interesting, very different activities, but I think when anyone falls into something, it's often used, but that flow state of the thing that they're doing, that becomes a very relaxing, releasing activity for them, right?
100%.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, you know what it's like? It's with anything. Find the things that can just help you, I don't know, be better, be clearer in what's important for you, and make better decisions. And yeah, it's different for a lot of people, but sometimes the process of getting there is actually the most important part. So for me, it's a process that I think everyone needs to go through in some form. I will definitely fly again, don't know when, and most likely just my private pilots get it current and get back flying, but probably not for the next few years.
Yeah, nice. Well, maybe I'll have to hit you up once you have, and I'll come for a flight with you. Well, we're going to get to your story of your current role of selling T-shirts a little bit later, but let's go back to where you began, and you have touched on it already. Being part of Platinum Group, selling Nike product in New Zealand, was that like a dream come true, being involved with a brand like that? Was it something you'd kind of looked at beforehand?
No, I don't think it was. I mean, I always had this ambition that I wanted to own my own business or be a part of building something. And when I was at university, I was working part-time in one of the stores, and I got into the business. I personally invested in the business and became a partner in the business off the back of that. So it was less about what we were selling. It was more about the role and the impact I felt I could make. And being a part of something and growing something was more the drive and the ambition for me at the time. So, but it just happened to be a brilliant product. And I love sport and love activity like we've chatted. So selling sportswear was easy and fun. And working in retail is an awesome foundation to get. I say to a lot of people, if you can work in retail or get experience working in retail, you can become a more finely tuned salesperson. Working in retail is hard, and you're dealing with people sometimes not at their best, and you just get hardened and you learn some brilliant skills. So I loved that 9 years. I ended up moving overseas for various reasons. I'm sure we'll come to it. But yeah, those 9 years at Platinum was less about the product, but more about being involved in a business and building something. And that was the fun part through that time.
And I was going to say, an awesome opportunity, straight out of university, and for that kind of foundational period of your career to, as you say, be part of something that was growing it. Like, you got to the point of running that business at the end of that period as well. Like, tell me a bit about that transformation, because it's a lot in a very short space of time.
I think, and I'd recommend it to anyone earlier in their career, is just take opportunities that are presented, make the most of them, give them your all, and who knows where it will take you. And that was a period where opportunities were presented, and I jumped at it, and I gave it everything I could, and it led to other things. I think when you're at that age and stage in your life, you have the luxury of being able to work hard and not take no for an answer and make things happen. And that's been a big part of my career. So I think what it taught me was do something that you enjoy, give it your best shot, try your best, come at it every day to make it something better and bigger, and who knows where it takes you. And that's what those 9 years were about. Did I start off thinking that the business would have grown to 9 stores and we would have had a few different brands and it would have given me the experiences that it did? No, I wouldn't have. But through that time, as opportunities present themselves, you give it your best shot, and you quite often can make something of it.
Yeah, totally. And obviously this is when you started running more as well. So that's a great thing that it kind of brought into your life more broadly.
Yeah.
Tell me about the change that you saw in yourself, I guess, going through a lot of change as a person, as a leader, and then bringing in running to help be that kind of reflective moment. Was that super powerful for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, if I think back to that time in my life, it's 20 years ago now, so it's a long time. I would say I was extremely green, wet behind the ears in terms of didn't have much experience, was finding things out for the first time and making a lot of mistakes. I was probably a lot more brash and a lot more direct than I am today, slightly less nuanced in terms of how I try and show up and adapt to different environments. And so I was a lot more male South African at that time. But at the time it served me well. And I guess if I look back now, the experiences I had then, how it shaped me as a human, the experience of working alongside others and getting the best out of people was probably the bit that I learned the most from in that time.
Mm.
I started to learn at that time that hard work was an important element of what you did, but you could definitely achieve more doing it with others.
Yeah.
And working as a part of a team and growing a team and inspiring and motivating that team was probably the start of me finding out that one of my passions is working with people and helping get the most out of people. So from that perspective, it was a really interesting and reflective time. But the role running played in it, I don't know. I've never actually paused and thought about it. I don't know if it did play a huge amount other than help keep me fit, which as a byproduct would have meant that hopefully I showed up better.
Was there a social element at all, given it was kind of the culture of what was going on?
Yeah, we started a run club as part of Platinum, which was twice a week or once a week, and we ended up growing that quite large, and there was definitely a social element to it. But it was also about building the business. And it's funny what run clubs have evolved into today, which are these big social community moments. Back then, it was definitely the start of that when we did it, and we'd maybe get around 100 people on a Wednesday night. But beyond that, no, it wasn't overly social.
Yeah, okay, interesting. It's certainly where running's gone now, right? Which is pretty cool, and it's been a common theme in some of these conversations around that kind of social connection piece.
No, it definitely is. Yeah. I do enjoy running with others. I love doing running events because of the social element and the vibe and the feeling before an event. But back then, there was a light touch social element to it, but it wasn't the single driver.
Yeah, it was kind of back when running wasn't cool yet, right?
Yeah, it had elements of, you could see where it was going. But yeah, it was definitely in a different place to where maybe it is today as a category.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to touch on kind of the area that you've gone into. You're a general business leader now, but with a probably strong marketing bent more than anything else. Was marketing something that interested you when you were studying? Was that an obvious choice? Was it a deliberate choice, or did you fall into it?
Yeah, I studied marketing. I did a real general degree. I studied marketing and business. But if I was to describe myself today, I'd go, I have a sales and marketing background.
Yeah.
I think everyone has a sales element to their background, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're working in recruitment or selling airline tickets. There is an element that you are trying to present something to other people in a way that you believe will encourage them to buy it or service a need or a demand that they've got to buy it. I love the marketing element of building a story around something and helping that show up in the right way, whether that be the messaging or how you deliver it or how you drop it. So I enjoy storytelling, but I would say I have a sales and marketing background, and I think both are as important as each other.
And that kind of led you into working directly with Nike. So tell me a bit about that. So leaving Platinum, moving overseas and starting with Nike.
Yeah, I mean, my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, said she was going overseas, wanted to do her OE, and I sort of felt like at the time I'd already done a big move. I'd moved from South Africa to New Zealand and was really enjoying what I was doing, but made the decision to go, which was a brilliant call for various reasons, and ended up working at Nike and was there for 8-9 years post that. And for someone that had this dream to have their own business, it was quite a different move to join more of a corporate. But what was awesome about it was what it taught me, the systems, the processes, driving efficiency into an operation, how you sell and market great product, the stories you've got to tell around it, how you build and shape teams, managing within a reasonably complex hierarchical structure. So it was the best thing I could ever have done from a career perspective. And also, I really enjoyed the running element of it too. And that's definitely when running became a bigger part of my life. So those 9 years living and working overseas were awesome, an absolute highlight.
Yeah.
And I look back fondly on that time.
And kind of the perfect place to find yourself, right? Getting in a brand where running is kind of front and center, but I guess more importantly, as a business leader and a kind of marketing professional at the time, arguably one of the best marketing businesses in the world.
I was very
right?
fortunate. I was super fortunate. At the time, doing brilliant work. And, I started in retail. I did retail marketing, general brand management type roles, some sales roles in there too, country manager type roles. So really varied as well. But yeah, the marketing skills and capabilities that I learned and some of that real foundational stuff that I was able to be a part of and learn from was huge. And so much of it I still lean on today. So it was an awesome time. But there's many great companies that I think could teach you the same good foundational skills. You've just got to be hungry for them. And you've got to chase the opportunities that present themselves and try and make the most of it.
Yeah, for sure. What if there's one thing that you take away from your time at Nike from a skill set point of view that you learnt, what would that be?
Teamwork.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, getting the best out of people, whether that be observations through working alongside some really high-performing teams, sports teams, internal teams within the business, also seeing examples when it didn't work. Yeah, I mean, there were functional elements. I was a part of marketing sales, but I think the teamwork element, the power of people coming together with a joint vision and then being really aligned on bringing that to life, and the amazing things you can achieve through that was a big part of it.
Was that a deliberate kind of sports team-esque culture that Nike wanted to adopt?
A little bit, yeah, that whole notion of high-performing teams, player coach type roles, leading but coaching and motivating people, as much as sort of being that more theoretical manager. It was just a really well-rounded approach to leading and inspiring people.
It's very cool, and it's cool to hear that happens in such a big business, because often, everyone knows that teamwork and working together is going to get the best outcomes, but the practical realities of implementing that in a system, how leaders operate, the politics they have to work within and whatnot, sometimes just doesn't
gets lost.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets lost. I think what I learned through that time was also, for a team to work really well together as a team, you needed the individuals to be great individuals too. And if people are not able to be at their best, the team's not going to be at its best. So investing in self and personal growth and development was huge as well, but with the outcome of being able to bring people together and having a great team.
Do you have a running highlight from your time overseas with Nike?
I mean, I was really fortunate living overseas, no kids at the time, and being able to travel on weekends or go to lots of different events. I did the Great North Run a couple times, which was amazing. And I think the first time I did that was a real highlight. I did that with Nike as well. I did the Budapest Marathon. That was a highlight at one point too, just sort of the surroundings, the environment. I'd say the first time I did the London Marathon, that was a highlight. And Nike enabled me to get into these events, which were reasonably coveted events, hard to get tickets. So all of that was enabled through that brand and being a part of that team. There was so many, but those big events probably would be the bits that you'll remember the most.
I think there'd be lots of people listening going, damn, I wish I could go and do London as well.
Yeah.
I think it's 1.1 million people have just signed up to the ballot.
It was nuts, wasn't it? I just saw the interest in so I've done London, I think 2 times. Yeah, and the second one was definitely not as good as the first. The first I got a good time. It was very enjoyable. The second one was very hard, and I definitely felt like I blew up. But Yeah, I just love events. Like I said earlier, I love the feeling and the vibe and the competitiveness of them and just the community aspect. So lots of fond memories.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty epic time. I imagine nothing better than working for a brand like Nike when you enjoy running, being in somewhere like Europe where either they have access to events or are sponsoring events and you can just kind of get out there and do things. It would have been
100%.
just the absolute dream, particularly no
Yep.
kids who get around as much. Does your partner or does your wife
No, she
run
doesn't.
at all?
No, Diana doesn't run. No, she trains. She
Yep.
probably trains harder than me, 6-7 days a week. But no, she doesn't. She doesn't enjoy running. To be honest, a lot of those big brands, like I know a lot of people and have worked closely with the team at Adidas in more recent times when I was at Les Mills, and they sponsor like the Berlin Marathon, for example. That would definitely be a bucket list run I would love to do at some point. And hearing people that have done it, wow, that looks like a real special one too. And then having come from South Africa, when I was growing up, there was a race over there, an ultra marathon called the Comrades Marathon. Yeah. And you'd run from Durban to Pietermaritzburg or Pietermaritzburg to Durban. I'd love to do that one. So those would be two runs I'd definitely still love to tick off.
Some arguably two of the most iconic running events on the planet.
Yeah, in very different ways. I think the scenery and running through Berlin would be amazing. Less nice scenery in South Africa, and you do a lot of like running on concrete roads, but just, I don't know, the history of the run and the fact it's 85-ish kilometers through some pretty tough conditions would be a good challenge.
It's the brutality of it, right? It's just such an achievement to get through something like that. Yeah, it's very cool. What prompted the move back to New Zealand?
Oh, we had two kids, both born in the UK, both born in London. And living overseas with two young kids is just different. You have different priorities, and things are not as easy as when you're living there on your own. Getting around London is harder. And also, all our family is back here in New Zealand, so we wanted them to grow up in and amongst a pretty awesome, special place with family alongside them. I still believe New Zealand is one of the best countries in the world, and if we can harness that and harness the capability of this place, we can definitely continue to do some amazing things. It might be a little tough right now, and maybe we need to help people lift their heads up a little bit more and be a little bit more optimistic. But coming back to New Zealand was always a plan. It's our home and we wanted to live here, but it was probably accelerated because of having two kids over there, and it was just harder to live the life we were living.
Yeah, for sure. And we kind of skipped over this at the start, but obviously people can hear, and you've mentioned it's not a Kiwi accent or an Australian accent that we're hearing, it's a South African one. When did you actually move to New Zealand?
Oh, when I was 17.
Okay.
17, 18. So I finished school in South Africa and moved over here.
Yeah.
Moved over here with my mum and sister. And it was a tough move at the time, but definitely a brilliant move, and really thankful to my mum for making that tough call to do it. Like the experiences and the opportunities that we have been able to experience as a result of it is huge. So, but a tough move. I'd like to take our kids back to South Africa in the next 2 years and experience that, and quite a different life and quite a different culture and environment. But yeah, 17, 18 was a long time ago now. So I've lived more of my life outside of Africa than I did in it.
Yeah. And we caught up a couple of weeks ago, and I asked the obvious important question of which rugby team you now support. And you said the All Blacks, which
I did.
You're definitely a true Kiwi now then.
Yeah, changed to the All Blacks, I reckon, after about 10 years. At the time, just living outside of Africa, it was just hard to keep connected, I felt. Probably easier now with social media and everything that goes along with that. But at the time, we were committed to New Zealand as well, and committed to New Zealand being our home and getting into the culture and the environment. So it just naturally happened.
And it's a better team anyway, right? Well, I probably can't say that at the moment, but
probably not as strong a team as we'd like to be right now. And I think the Springboks would probably show us that. But I agree with you. Yes,
I imagine you'll be at the game at Eden Park in a couple of months.
Yeah,
time.
Definitely going. Got tickets and looking forward to it.
Yeah, awesome. Right, we'll get off the rugby chat. It's just a bit of an inside thing. So you've come back to New Zealand, had a couple of kids, getting closer to the family. You just spent the first 20 years of your career in that kind of retail sports, something that was very close to you, I guess, in terms of the brands and what you were doing. What was next for you?
Yeah, well, I come back, I worked at Spark a telco, and quite a left field move. But if you look at sort of the career that I've started to build, is I've worked in 5 different industries now. So actually was really awesome to be able to move into another industry that was quite different to what I'd done and learn and grow. And the team was amazing. When I was coming back from overseas, I wanted to work for a New Zealand business. And for various reasons, Spark ticked that box. And joining the team there was a brilliant team, an amazing bunch of people, and I loved it. I was there 3 years. And I learned a hell of a lot commercially, like a very commercial business, very focused on product and product life cycle. And the responsibilities I had there was looking after the home mobile and broadband part of the business. So there was a lot going on, and Spark was in a pretty awesome place, strong brand, investing in its brand, helping make New Zealand a better place, and using technology to connect New Zealanders in a far better way than maybe they'd been connected before. So absolutely loved it. It was awesome. And a lot of the team that I worked with and worked alongside, I'm still close with today and would talk to and see often. So it was an awesome landing spot to come back. I was really fortunate, but I felt very lucky to be able to come back into that role and that type of environment. My learning curve was steep, which was awesome on a personal and professional level. I always feel like you've got to keep steepening that learning curve. If you're not steepening it, then you're not out of your comfort zone and you're not going to develop as much as you could or should. But yeah, on paper, it looked very different, but it was definitely a brilliant move.
Yeah. There's always a lot of similarities to the core things you need to do in a role. And I guess learning a lot at the same time is always good for you, but bringing different skill sets to an organization and thinking and understanding, I'm sure that would have been valuable for Spark, bringing in your expertise at the time as well. Just time 2015 that you did that, how long had it actually been Spark for? I can't quite remember that.
I think about two years, maybe.
Yeah. So did it
3 years?
Did it feel a little bit startup-y still from a perspective?
A little bit, elements of it, but it also felt very big.
Yeah.
And there was definitely opportunity to help cut through and to storytell better and to build an amazing team. So there was elements of great foundations, and then there was still a lot of change that was happening, like cultural change from a business that had been around forever in telecom, and then this transition into Spark and the impact it wanted to make in New Zealanders' lives and how it showed up as a brand. So yeah, there were startup elements, but then there was also bigger legacy elements too that could be very frustrating if you didn't get your head around them in the right way.
From a leadership point of view, what were the biggest differences that you noticed compared to Nike?
Maybe the biggest was aspiration.
Okay.
Ambition. I think at Nike, and maybe it was a cultural thing with American culture, everyone wanted to be best in the world, felt they could and should be best in the world, and you weren't going to get out of bed unless you were going to double or triple revenue. I think at Spark, and maybe it was more of a New Zealand culture thing, is people were quite often scared to put their heads up because you become a target. So you just play it maybe safer sometimes. And the aspiration was there in some people, but was it there culturally in everyone? Maybe not. So there was an opportunity maybe to bring an element of that ambition. And then maybe the other thing I would say would be at Nike, there was a real priority put into storytelling and using communication to move people and to rally people, bring them together. And that was a great opportunity that I was able to be a part of trying to create at Spark, using communication better to bring people together and align them on like a common goal. So those would probably be the 2 elements.
Yeah, interesting. You touched on a pretty important thing that is a challenge in New Zealand and Australia to a lesser extent around kind of tall poppy, right? You don't want to push out too much because, then you do become a target. And I think also, New Zealand's small and you guys were basically just making sure that you were going to try and be better than Vodafone, right? The only other real telco provider. So the scale and scope, I guess, of what you were trying to achieve, very different, which is it's a challenge in the New Zealand market, right?
Yeah, it was one of the things I missed was I felt like when I came home and I wanted to work in and for a New Zealand business because there was this real impact/opportunity to make New Zealand a better place. So I put a priority into finding a New Zealand business that I could be a part of. But I think as I then found, I wanted to also make sure that there was a scope internationally as well. And that was probably one of the reasons I ended up moving and becoming a part of Les Mills. Was sometimes if you're just focused on New Zealand, you can become a little bit insular and maybe a little inward looking. And what I loved about living overseas was the impact of working with other people in different cultures and environments. And I missed that. So since my Spark days, I have prioritized being a part of a New Zealand business, but that has international customers and is operating in international markets.
And a move into Les Mills, a great one, I guess, back to that kind of fitness movement kind of underpinning, though in a very different way. Give me a sense of, and for the listeners who don't know what Les Mills is, of where the business was kind of at the time when you joined.
Yeah, I mean, Les Mills, for those that don't know, Les Mills International was the business I was a part of, was a international fitness business. It had a purpose for create a fitter planet. And we made group fitness workouts choreographed to music and sold them around the world. It's interesting, though, because just if I back up a little bit, like when I moved from Spark to Les Mills, that was one of the few times that I haven't left a job or a role without anything to go to.
Yeah, right.
So when I left Platinum, I had nothing to go to overseas, just made a call and got me, it was a scary call at the time, but ended up working at Nike, and brilliant opportunity presented. When I left Nike to come home, the same. When I resigned from Nike, I had nothing to go to. When I left Spark to went to Les Mills, I did have something lined up, and that was one of the few times. And then leaving Les Mills and ending up at AS Colour, like I had nothing to go to. So made the brave call to get out of what I was doing at the time and created the space, and ended up landing in something every time that I think has helped continue to grow me as a human and has got me to a better place. So yeah, when I left Spark and went to Les Mills, I went and joined that company in the marketing field, and it was awesome. Selling fitness around the world and being a part of a special business was an awesome privilege. A lot smaller than Spark, felt a lot more maybe like Nike in terms of the entrepreneurial element of it and the international markets. But yeah, it was a really fun time. I was there for 6 years.
And ended up running the business for a period of time. How much did you enjoy getting back into that international touch point, and how did that weave in with running? Was there a running culture in a fitness business like that?
Less of a running culture, but quite a few of us that ran alongside fitness and doing group fitness workouts. Running is such an awesome foundational fitness that a lot of people just do it anyway. To answer your two questions, the first one, getting back into the international element of a business, was brilliant. It was amazing. It was inspiring. It meant a lot of travel, and definitely more travel than was potentially needed. I think COVID taught us all that you could still have the connection internationally and lead and run teams internationally, but you didn't necessarily need to be traveling every day. And then the second element in terms of running, yeah, there wasn't a deep running culture, but there was definitely an underlying element of a bunch of us that ran, and whenever we traveled, we would run as well as do group fitness workouts, and it just worked. It felt good.
Was group fitness something you'd done before joining Les Mills? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd been a member of Les Mills before we moved overseas, and used to do body pump at like 6 a.m. every morning when I was younger. So I did it for years. So it was a big part of what I'd done. Yeah,
I used to commute past one of the big Les Mills gyms in Auckland, and every morning on my bike, seeing everyone up there doing their pub classes and whatnot. It looked like a great time. Not my cup of tea, but could see why people loved it. I want to touch on the running piece, and you mentioned it a little bit before around traveling, and obviously one of the beauties of the sport of how easy it is just to go and do. If we tie that in with, I guess, what running means to you and how it helps you, when you're prioritizing running on those travel, when you're traveling, like what was the main benefit for you? Was it just kind of grounding yourself? Was it getting a sense of where you were? Was it just
a bit of everything
that had to happen?
Yeah, I think a bit of all of that. Like I whenever I travel, I always find like I'll try and run as fast as I can if I've done an international flight. So I will try and run as close to landing or arriving there as possible. And then it just helps with jet lag and recovery was one thing. Exploring the city and getting an element of familiarity with where you are and the environment you're in. I'd always try and stay somewhere where there was a park or a river or somewhere to run in. And then just the element of like clearing one's head. And if you're not sleeping very well because of jet lag or if it's long days, it just gives you an element of energy and energy that you can take to your day. It's made me a better human. So all of those were a big part of why I did it.
You have a favorite city around the world to go running in?
I think any of the big cities.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I love running along the Thames in London. There's a lot of sort of love running through Hyde Park in London as well. I mean, I lived there a long time, so I know elements of it more, but yeah, probably London would be my favorite just because I know it reasonably well. But any big city, there's always pretty special areas to explore.
Yeah. It's cool. I love it as well. Like it's such a nice way to go and explore a city. If you are a runner, of course. Like if you're not a runner, probably not too many of the listeners aren't. So they're probably on our side as well. But yeah, you get to have a look, get your run in. You're just doing it all at once, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome. You can't beat it.
No.
And one thing I really enjoy is I actually quite like running when it's cold and raining and the elements are against you. And if you've got the right product and it's another layer to the challenge or to the obstacle that running can sometimes be, that mentally plays such a big part in why I enjoy it. So yeah, a lot of people love running when it's warmish and the sun's out or it's a beautiful morning. I enjoy that too, but I also enjoy the tougher times.
Yeah, I'm the same, and it's interesting and keen to hear your kind of view on this as well. Endurance athletes in general often are driven more by achieving their own goals and challenging themselves rather than necessarily competition with others. But there's always a competitive element. For me, the running in the rain, running in those really crappy conditions is kind of I'm out here and everyone else isn't.
Yeah,
you know, like
I feel the same.
I'm getting that extra day and that extra training session and when others aren't.
Yeah, same, big part of it. I made the choice this morning to get out and run. It was hard and most people didn't, and I did. And as a result, I know I'm just going to have a better day for it. I'm going to be a better person for it. Yeah, I'm the same with long distance or endurance. Like I've done a couple ultra marathons, and the longest one I've done for me, it was you're going to go to some really tough places and it's going to be mentally challenging, sometimes more than physically challenging. But you also know you can get through it, and mentally you build some awesome resilience. So that is a huge part of why I like those type of events. Type 2 fun, I guess. Like it's fun but hard, but at the end of it, you definitely feel better for it. And you also know what you're capable of.
You touched on something that I talk about a fair bit on this podcast now, and it's a bit of a buzzword, but I like to dive in a little bit deeper, but resilience. And doing any endurance sport, resilience is super important. I think it just gets thrown around and talked about too much, particularly in the business world. You know, having been in this game for a little bit, interviewing and talking to candidates and business leaders wanting people with resilience, like what is that, right? Like,
what does it mean? Yeah.
For me, it's, people doing hard things. And once you've done those hard things, you've kind of built this muscle around being able to do other things, and they're now not as hard, right? That's kind of resilience to me.
Yeah.
Did you see a crossover from when you started doing these kind of ultra endurance events to the resilience you had from a business and leadership perspective?
Maybe there was an element of when you do these hard things and you don't give up through them, you're out of your comfort zone, you're learning a lot more, you probably just feel more confident in yourself. And you back yourself more often, maybe when you would have questioned. So I'd say at a high level, that was probably it. I talk a lot about just steepening the learning curve and get out of your comfort zone. And that is about doing hard things. And if you get presented with two scenarios, picking the one that is often harder because you're going to learn so much more from it. It's going to make you a better person. So yeah, I'd say definitely, but I think it's as much mindset as it is anything else.
Mm.
And you have a choice to make, and everyone has that same choice, and it just depends on what path you choose at that time.
What is the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, or the most resilience building thing you've ever done?
COVID,
Mm.
and living through that, work and personal and professional. Yeah, I found it really tough being responsible for a team and a business, and the unknown and the impact or potential impact and the business challenges that came with it. That's when I ended up signing up to do the ultra marathon. I know I'm best in the morning. I've been for a run. It's early in the day. I'm working on something big, and I'm working as a part of a team with others. And I know those are the environments I need around me, or the conditions for me to be at my best. And through that time, I just don't think I was exercising enough, and therefore I wasn't getting enough thinking time, or maybe clarity of thought was missing. So yeah, that was a tough time, but it taught me a hell of a lot too, and has given me a lot of confidence in terms of stuff that I'm capable of dealing with, and how I showed up as human, and the environment I was able to create for others or be a part of creating. So yeah, that would be the toughest.
Mm. It must have been so challenging in international business, things different in all markets that you're working into. Fundamentally, you're trying to get people together to do these exercises. Yes, there's a digital element, but pretty tough business to be a part of at the time, right?
I think so many businesses where it had its own unique challenges, and we dealt with them as best we can, and I believe we did a pretty good job of it. So yeah, it was, but not to underestimate or talk down what other people were dealing with too. You can only do what you can do with the cards that you're dealt, and the choices you make really is ultimately what defines you. So I think for us, it's just do the best job you can with what's in front of you.
For sure. So what prompted you to leave Les Mills then?
I think just got to a point where I felt like I was at maybe 80% of my potential, and I was looking for more, and I wanted the space and the environment to be able to do it, and just didn't feel 100% right. Sometimes you just come to a point where you've got to make that decision and be a part of it, like be a part of being brave and leaning into it. So, and not having anything to go to, as in my head wasn't turned, I didn't have like something else lined up, just creates a space and the urgency of like reassessing what's important for you for that next step. And where I've ended up now, part of this team here at AS Colour has been awesome. We're a New Zealand business founded in New Zealand 20 years ago. We're into our 20th year this year, and we're operating in 5 markets around the world, and we have some challenges, don't get me wrong, with tariffs and that international component, but we have a lot of tailwinds as well. And the business has an awesome foundation, and really feels like I'm back to my roots a little bit in terms of selling apparel again, which is a big part of what I did at Platinum and then Nike. So I've been here a year now. There isn't that big a running culture. There's a few of us that run, but yeah, been here a year and loving it.
So what is it like being a t-shirt salesman, and not only a t-shirt salesman, but a t-shirt manufacturer, or, through partners and whatnot? You got
I'm learning a lot.
Whole piece.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot. Like there's an element of familiarity around parts of what we do. So sold apparel and footwear a lot, but I've sold apparel. I've run retail stores, run retail businesses, been a part of an international business before, worked for New Zealand businesses before. So there's lots of familiarity, and then there's some new elements around manufacturing and the factories, supplier relationships we have, and supply chain, and those elements that are newer to me in terms of direct experience. But yeah, I think we are all working as in sales at some point, what we do, Platinum, I sold shoes, what I used to say. But Nike, I used to sell sportswear. At Spark, I sold mobile phones, what I tell my kids. At Les Mills, I sold fitness, and now I'm selling t-shirts and hoodies. So, I think there's an element of that, and there's a lot that you can take from one experience to the next, and then there's a lot you learn, which is great too.
Does it feel like a nice combination of your career to date, in the sense that you've had all these elements, and now this is kind of all of it together, and you own that, right?
Yeah, right now it does. Right now it feels awesome that there's a coming together of a lot of experiences, but I know there will still be more, and the learning curve will still be steep. So I get out of bed to learn and to help inspire people and be a part of a team doing some amazing things. And right now I feel like I'm a part of all of that, and it's fun, and I'm enjoying it, and I feel supported and fulfilled as a result. So I feel like I'm in a great spot, and I'm training and running a lot, and I'm feeling fit for it. And yeah, who knows? It's about to get cold over here, as you know. So the weather is not amazing to get out and sort of like enjoy, but as I said earlier, I love running in tougher elements and conditions too.
Yeah, just makes you stronger. What you're now, running this business, different elements to it that you're learning at the same time. You've come through a number of different organizations that, probably taught you great things as a leader. What does your leadership look like now, having brought that all together and then being in the position that you are?
Yeah, I think I'm a lot more inclusive as a leader through the things I've learned over the years, but I'm also maybe more expectant at the right times, setting real clarity, like setting the bar and then inspiring and empowering people to get over it. When I was younger, I would shoulder people's challenges or problems more than I do now. I can definitely build rapport and empathy fast with people, so I think I can get to a level of trust faster than I've ever been able to. But I definitely am a in it with the team type of person. What I love about AS Color is we're a very lean, efficient team. So this would be the most operational role I've had in 20 years. You get your hands dirty, be in it, but you can see your impact and you can make decisions fast and you can try things and see the results from them straight away because you're right in it, amongst it with the customers. So my leadership style has definitely evolved, but I think everyone's is always changing. And I would encourage everyone to understand like it's just a work in progress for the next thing. But I think as long as you feel like you can get the best out of people and help them be their best, and you've got a role model trying to be your best, then I think you can achieve some pretty special things.
I guess with that being very, hands-on operational lean business, what's the most unexpected thing that you've learnt in your first year there?
I think the most unexpected was actually just how creative this industry is. From the outside, we sold blank apparel to decorators around the world, but the creative element, we are ultimately setting a blank canvas for others' self-expression. So we're just facilitating a piece of art or some creative that without a brilliant and beautiful product will never realize its potential. And I probably underestimated that initially. We are known for creating a brilliant product, arguably the best product in the industry. And people choose us because it helps them do great work. It helps their work look and feel better. And the creative element of that is huge, definitely more creative than I initially gave it credit for.
Yeah, interesting. Has there been a bit of a business model shift to some extent with what AS Color does compared to where it started out, or was this always the plan?
This was always the plan. Yeah. We sell blank apparel to decorators around the world, and those decorators are screen printers, embroiders, people that are taking a blank product and making it better and adding value to it. And that is what the business is and always has been. There is a retail element in New Zealand and Australia. People see our retail stores and they think we're a retailer, but that's really just a marketing avenue. It's the shop window into the business. It helps more people get their hands on great product and creates a pull model. So no, the business model hasn't shifted, and I believe we're just getting started. We started in New Zealand 20 years ago. We've been in Australia now, call it 17, 18 years. The US for 10 years, the UK for 7 or 8, and we just opened in the Netherlands in November last year. So the potential opportunity to grow this business and be a part of a team that can impact more people positively around the world, we're just getting started.
Yeah, very cool. And early days in your tenure there, and
very early. But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll do great things as well. A lot of experience to add to that business, and it'll be very cool to see where that goes. On your running and on all the endurance events that you've done, we've kind of touched on different bits and pieces. Is there a pivotal moment in your running career or your athletic career that really just sticks out in your mind as a big change in how things happened, or it's just something you always reflect on?
One moment, I don't think so. No, I don't think there's one moment that is memorable for anything more than maybe what another moment is. But I think the moments that I've enjoyed would be those more endurance type events.
Mm.
Maybe the 2 Ironman that I've done, or the 100-kilometer run that I did. Again, just showing you what's possible and the work you've got to do to be able to do that well. You can't just turn up on the day. You got to plan for it. You've got to train for it. You've got to commit. And I think those big events teach you that you can't just wing it. You've got to put effort and time, and you got to be focused on the right stuff. So those would be the ones, because I think I look back on it and go, wow, how did I achieve some of that stuff? Or, man, I was really happy with the results that I got, or the time that I did it in, but it didn't happen by chance.
Do you think that was because of the business thinking that you had around structure and process and putting things in place to be able to get to that crossed over? Did it cross back the other way?
Maybe. I mean, you could probably draw a parallel to that. I think it was simpler, which was just sometimes things are hard and you've got to work at it, and it takes time and effort. And when you work at it and you apply yourself, you can achieve some phenomenal things. Don't give up when it gets tough. Dig deep, get through it. It's only going to be a moment in time. So I think it's more that higher thinking than the business process, but you could draw a parallel to that if you needed to.
It's what we're here for the podcast, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, we're coming into the last little section of the podcast, and it's where we try and get some free advice out of you. So we get 3 pieces of advice. So I want your top piece of advice for life, tricky one, your top piece of advice for leadership, and most importantly, your top piece of advice for running.
I think for life, it would just be, if I could look back now and give myself some advice when I was younger, that the single biggest thing would be just enjoy it more at that time. Yeah, I think when I was younger, I was always sort of striving for the next thing or very focused on the future. But it would definitely be enjoy the moment more at that time. Biggest piece of advice for leadership, I think it's being clear on what's important. Really, really drilling into, why are we doing this? It is more than selling a t-shirt or a phone or a pair of shoes. There's always a deeper reason for being. And I think if you can tap into that with anyone, with any team, you just get some awesome results. And then the last one was the piece of advice for running.
Correct. And you're not allowed to steal probably the best catchphrase for advice around running that Nike have, and just do it.
Yeah, no, that would be a cop out. I would say it would be sign up to or commit to something really hard. So, if you love running 5Ks, sign up to a 10. Yeah, just sign up and commit to doing something really hard, because half the excitement comes in the process, or the training, or the commitment you have to make to then get ready for that moment, and you'll learn so much along the way.
I like that. We obviously I get this from everybody, and some great pieces of advice. What I like about that is the tangible, tactical approach, right? Just get something locked in and then figure out how it goes, and the learning you'll get from that will be pretty amazing. Right?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
So, I think it'll be awesome.
What's the next big hard thing you've got locked in or planning for?
Work-wise or running-wise?
Either.
Well, I think our biggest challenge, the opportunity in front of us right now, would be our US business, and the impact on that business with tariffs and supply chain is probably the most gnarly thing we're dealing with. And that will take some time once we get some clarity on what's happening there. So that would be the biggest piece right now for us. But we're a new business in the Netherlands serving mainland Europe. It's a big challenge for us too. And helping the team here be comfortable with how you do that and operate internationally and get the best out of people on different time zones is an awesome challenge. And then running wise, I haven't signed up to any big event. So I need to that would definitely be
After
be
giving that
something
advice
I
to
wanna
others,
nail.
you have to lock that in.
Yeah,
for yourself.
you have to from time to time. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not ready for it or don't feel like you are lined up. Yeah, just do it. Sign up for it. Get it done.
Yeah, well, Auckland Marathon's not too far away. So
I've done that a couple times, and I'd probably do the half again next
Yeah.
before I did the full. That would be a good enough challenge for me right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I want to thank you so much for
Thank you,
coming
mate.
on board. It's been a great conversation. I think there's lots of cool little tidbits throughout your career and your sporting journey that we've covered, and I've learned a bit, and it's been nice. Just good to chat, really.
Yeah, it's been good. I've enjoyed it. What's your big thing that you've signed up for?
What's my big thing? So, my big thing this year is aiming for a 2:24 marathon, with the plan on a 2:20 marathon next year. So at the moment, I have entries for Gold Coast Marathon, which is in 5 weeks, Sydney Marathon, which is 8 weeks after that, and Melbourne Marathon, which is 6 weeks after that. I'm probably not going to do
those, mate. Those are some amazing times. If you achieve those, you would have to be absolutely stoked with that.
Oh yeah. It's a big goal out there to do, but that's the plan, and that's why I have 3 races lined up so that I can make sure I'm peaking at one of them. Just
Ready
one of them
for
has
one
to
of
come
them.
off. We'll be good to go. Yeah.
Wow. Well, good luck.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to watching it. That's
Yeah.
huge. That's a good challenge.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I always like doing some crazy things as well, so have that locked in, and hopefully we can. I was actually meant to be trying to do it last year at Berlin, of all places, but I'd been injured and sick and whatnot, so didn't get to.
And didn't end up going?
No, I went over
bugger.
to Europe and saw my sister and whatnot, but didn't do
run.
the race, so that's definitely still on the bucket list as well.
Will have to be, eh? Well, it's been a good chat. Thanks, Jason.
It has. Thank you very much. And that is a wrap on episode number 10. Thank you so much for listening. Again, whether you've been here from the start or this is the first episode that you've listened to, really grateful that you're here. This show is as much yours as it is mine, so if you've got feedback, ideas, or guests you'd like to hear from, or you'd like to come on yourself, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to stay connected between episodes, come join the Execs Who Run Strava group. It's a great way to track your runs, find accountability, and connect with others who are moving and leading just like you. If this episode has sparked something for you, please follow us along, give us a rating, review the show, or share it with other leaders or runners that you know that might find it useful. Until next time, keep running, and we will see you then.